Good morning, I'm Ann Larcello.
And I'm Amanda Growski, and today on the show we'll tell you about the latest and greatest in electronics.
Plus, it takes more than organization to be a good leader. Some say it also takes love.
And who will take home the big awards this weekend? We'll talk movie stars having their best year yet. That all starts right now. And welcome back. We all want more. More from work, more from our relationships, and more from life, but we struggle on how to make those changes needed to fulfill our need for more, because what has worked in the past doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work in the future.
Author Dr. Maria Church presents a new form of leadership, all based on love. Dr. Church joins us this morning to explain. Welcome, Doctor. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You wrote this book, Love-Based Leadership, and the main theme of it is to switch your fear, from fear rather, to love, and that applies to leadership. How though do you go about doing that? Because that's a big switch to make.
It is, and you know, so many of our corporate cultures are built on fear, and the downside of that is that we have organizations that are filled with people that are overworked, overstressed, and they're not finding meaning in what they do, and that lack of meaning then is lack of engagement, lack of motivation, and the organizations are suffering, as we see, because a lot of organizations aren't surviving that. And so it's really important to, in order to make that switch from fear to love, that we actually have awareness around it, because we can't just do it unless we're aware that it's happening. And that's what's so tricky about fear, is we've become so used to it, almost anesthetized by it, that we don't really realize that we're surrounded with fear.
And I think the emotions is like the first thing that people kind of tend to forget about, because they go through their daily routines, and like you said, it's fear, which is an emotion, but doing something that you actually love and what sparks that creativity throughout the day, no one pays attention to it because we're just so busy getting the action done.
Yes, and because we're so steeped in fear, and it's reinforced, and it's reinforced generation after generation. That's the scary part about it. But I'm so glad when you talked about love and how that can just be so enlightening and open the doors actually to creativity. There were two researchers, Nonaka and Nishigishi, Japanese researchers, who studied many organizations to see what was necessary for organizations to create knowledge. Because, you know, in today's fast-paced environment, we have to make sure that we're innovative and, you know, we're keeping up, and so we don't become complacent. And they researched, both of them, and they found this energy, for lack of a better word, called BA, B-A. And so translated for us, it's like an energy and environment that is not conducive but necessary for an organization to create knowledge. Now, there were 4 key elements that have to be there, present, for BA to exist. And that was love, care, trust, and compassion. So if we want to move from that place of complacency, again, fear, to one of innovation and creativity, we have to make the shift to a love-based leadership.
So then would you say that this book is written for managers, for CEOs, for corporate? Because as you said, if the employees are stifled, if we are stifled, that's when morale goes down, that's when nobody wants to do a good job for the company. So who would you say this book is geared towards?
It's a great question, because we have different mental models when we hear the word leader. You know, who is a leader? What is a leader? And I ascribe to the belief that we are all leaders. Because at the very least, and the very greatest, we're the leaders of our own lives. And so it's important for us, if we're going to lead other people then, whether it's a team of 20, 200, 2,000, or lead our family or our communities, it's important that we first and foremost be effective leaders of ourselves. And then we can affect a really positive leadership experience for those around us.
And I think you just touched on such an important part, because I think we all know that person at work that comes in every day full of energy, loving what they do, and you kind of almost envy them, where you're like, well, what are they doing differently that I can't feel that same way every day? And you start to mimic them, and then all of a sudden it's contagious and it spreads.
Absolutely, and it begins with ourselves. In fact, the model that I created, Love-Based Leadership, is built on 3 pillars: love of self, love of source, and love of others. And so it absolutely has to first begin with loving ourselves. And what I mean by that is not an egoic kind of thing, oh, I'm so great kind of thing. It's really self-care, self-honor, self-respect, self-valuing. And that's really what I mean by love, a universal concept of love, which is valuing, honoring, respecting, and trusting each other, one human being to another.
And quickly, Doctor, what inspired you to write this book?
Well, I had two primary objectives. The first one was to give the reader an opportunity for self-discovery so that they could find their authentic leader within. So I have a lot of really fun exercises in that book as well. And then the second objective was to really create a holistic model of leadership, one that integrated all aspects of our lives, whether it was spiritual, health and wellness, relationships, family. I found it very frustrating when I would go into work and had a sense that I really had to check my soul at the door. That never felt authentic to me. And so that's what this model does, is it's really holistic.
Interesting approach. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you
you
so
very much.
much.